Terrence, appreciate your time, my man. I'm looking forward to diving into everything that you guys are building right now. But I want to take a step back and start with your NFL career, which, unfortunately ended with an injury your rookie year. And, most guys in that situation would have spent some years trying to, claw their way back into the league. But for you, you just pivoted right away. So take us back to that time. What was going through your head and how fast did that switch like flip for you?
Yeah, man, I'd say just it really, that transition started out of high school. So I was a quarterback. I had about five full academic offers, but I had about 20 D1 offers to play at, Power Five schools at the time. So SEC, Big 12, whatever. Clearly came to Texas A&M and M, and I moved positions. People thought it was the dumbest idea known to mankind. Like, why would you go to A&M with all those five stars and play a position you'd never played? And it just kind of leads into like synergy sports, like where I'm always willing to bet on my idea and myself and what God gives me as the vision. And then came to A&M, was a freshman All-American. First game at Kyle Field, caught the game-winning touchdown, and then left with about 30 records. So things that had never been done in 100 years of football at Texas A&M, I left with setting that new bar. And then obviously two-time All-American, three-time academic All-Conference, two-time first-team All-Conference, blah, blah, blah. And then went to the draft. So Green Bay Packers, I was projected to go top 15 going into that year. And then we brought in Coach Franchione, started running the option. Terrible, terrible decision. We took we hired him from Alabama. I say Alabama would never be what they were with Coach Saban. Had Texas A&M not stole Coach Franchione from Alabama, I wish he would have stayed there and ruined their program, not ours. But coming out, I was falling in the draft, and that's where me and Aaron Rodgers kind of connected because he was supposed to be number one overall pick that year, and I was projected in that like 15 to 20 range, and we both fell. He went like late first round, I went second round, and so going in with the pack, like we were like, all right, we got to reset. This is a new start. Let's eat. So he's my roommate on the road, my roommate during camp, and a couple games into my rookie year, I was playing, starting, and then had the injury, getting paralyzed on Monday Night Football, which obviously changed my life. But to catch back up to your question, I went through depression, bro. I mean, I got paralyzed on Monday Night Football. And so that was tough. But I worked my way back. Man, I was almost 220 pounds that next year to kind of train and come back and play. But ultimately, as I was trying to get, approved from the doctors, I couldn't get the right approval. And instead of chasing the game, I said, hey, I got a brain. I'm wired differently. I'd always been intellectually a little bit different. So let's go test it. And so that's when I moved back to town, started doing ministry, and got my undergrad from A&M, started working on my post-grad degree, started investing with Stillwater Capital. And then, because I had a little bit of seed capital, people will see me now like, oh, you made all this crazy NFL money. But no, man, I didn't. And then that's when I started my first company called TM5, and we scaled it to 1.5 billion in 8 years. So it's a long
Incredible.
answer.
Why real estate? Did you have like family members that worked in real estate? Why did you want to get into that industry initially?
Now real estate's so cliche in 2025, 2026. Everybody's a real estate broker, developer, flipper,
Yeah.
fixer-upper. But back in 2005, 2006, nobody was talking about real estate. It was the market, the Great Recession was getting ready to start. So there was a lot of people flooding out of the industry. But man, I'll tell you honestly, I just prayed to God give me a passion. And as the Great Recession was starting, I had a little bit of money well, all my money at the time, but in the market. And I called my financial advisor. I'm like, dude, the market's going down. If it's going to go to dust, then I'm going to bet on myself. And so he said, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. Give me a week. So I read about 40 books in 16 months and came back to him in a couple of weeks and said, hey, I'm going to do real estate. And he's like, all right, I'll get your money out of the market. Here you go. Good luck. And so that's where it started, man. I just bet on myself and started growing and scaling and teaching myself, man. I'd love to say I had a mentor, but I didn't. And which is why I try to mentor as many people as I can.
I love it, man. And then getting back into the sports investing focus for a minute. How did that initially start for you? Was that always a part of the plan? Because you've done some deals before even launching this fund that we'll
Yeah.
talk about. But like, where did that interest kind of stem from?
Yeah. So Berkshire Hathaway made me an offer. they were getting ready to move into the service industry, and Gino Buffari, which is the CEO of Berkshire's real estate arm, and Chris Stewart at the time, he's not there anymore, reached out and said, "Hey, T, we love what you're doing. We love your creativity at your company at TM5. We want to roll you guys up and under Berkshire." Well, that was pretty cool. Publicly traded company has interest in something that I'm building. And then ultimately, we didn't take that offer, but I decided I wanted to become Berkshire Hathaway in my own right. And so I did a couple funds with some groups. And then we had been invested in like Ghost Robotics, who just sold for 400 million, or Grok, which is now getting a lot of attention with the Nvidia acquisition. We invested in Grok early on, and so I started doing venture capital, angel investing, and then I told my wife, let's just start buying up the service companies that service what we're doing. So we bought a title company, mortgage, started a construction company, development, property management, grew ourselves to about 400 agents when we merged with a publicly traded company, EXP. And so all that being said, did that for about 20 years, and the whole time sports was always at the background. And as I started coaching my kids in soccer and flag football, just that passion for those kids, I'm like, man, like it reminded me of what I loved about sports. And then to close the answer, we moved out to our ranch, and my wife was like, "Hey, we should build a pickleball court." And I was like, "What the heck is pickleball?" This is like 2019. So we built it, started playing it, fell in love with it, and that's when I was like, "There's got to be a way to invest in this. This thing is just too fun." And that's when I found Major League Pickleball and Tom Brady and LeBron and KD. And so me, Tim Tebow, Lil Wayne, Miles Garrett all invested in a team, Texas Ranchers.
Mhm.
And then that's when I was like, man, like I got to start studying this. So about 5 years ago, I invested in an MLS team, then obviously Athletico Dallas, then a sports fishing team. So I've just been strategically off balance sheet with my own capital, investing in these emerging leagues and teams. And then I started studying Arctos and Redbird and Bruin Capital and Sixth Street. They're all upstream. And I know a bunch of guys at those firms. And I said, well, who's down in the lower middle market? And you would see just a bunch of random SPVs. But nobody actually said, hey, we're the brand that's going to lead the lower middle market opportunity. And then that's where my thesis came in, emerging leagues and teams with real estate development opportunities and sports adjacent businesses. So I took kind of my three worlds of venture capital, real estate, and sports and combined them into the thesis of Synergy Sports Capital. And man, it's been taken off for sure.
I love it. And so you saw a gap within the sports ecosystem to where you can focus on this specific lane of investments. Talk about putting the team together and partnering with Reggie Bush. I mean, everybody knows him and his what he did at USC was incredible. I mean, people still talk
Yeah.
about those highlights, but talk about that partnership, how that came about, and the long-term vision for Synergy.
Yeah, I think on Synergy, I think people are all having an Uber moment where it's like, okay, so I could just press this on the app, somebody picks me up, drops me off. I'm not having to wait on a yellow cab. Like, I think people are having that moment with Synergy Sports Capital, where it's like, that makes sense, bro. Like the commissioner of NWSL said it a couple weeks ago in an interview. In 2021, you could get a franchise for $2 to $5 million. In 2025, 2026, she just sold the 17 franchise for 165 million.
It's crazy.
So the multiple MOIC on that is off the charts. So when I'm looking at like, all right, where is the alpha? And I know me being an entrepreneur, being an active investor, I don't want to be passive capital. Like I want to be in the game. I want to direct the outcome. I want to have get my hands dirty. I'm a startup guy. That's where I just kept coming back to this thesis and I just kept studying and I'm like, no one's focused on it. So that's where Synergy Sports came in. And so when Reggie and I linked, we knew of each other in college. For one, we were both number five, but there's a unique like talent. Like he was, remember I said A&M was kind of making that transition where we were kind of going down and now we're back up. But he was at the height of what was happening at USC. And so if you go back and look at those numbers, like yards per touch, I think at one point I was number one. This is my junior year, his sophomore year. I was number one in the nation. Reggie was two. Darren Sproles was three. You look at all-purpose yards per average. Reggie was one. Darren Sproles was two. I think I was number 4 or 5. So like those kind of like people don't realize we played at a similar time and we had similar skill sets. He's just that guy at USC and won the Heisman.
Yeah.
Like, it's truly one of the most talented guys I've ever seen. but athletically, we were doing some of the same things, just in different bodies and at different teams. So we knew of each other. We didn't know each other personally, like we were texting every week, but we kind of, like, oh, D Sproles, I'm watching him, seeing what he's doing. And so that's how we kind of originally started. And then over the last year or two, we just been connecting on emerging leagues, man. Like what he's doing, Athletes Tour, what I was wanting to do with my fund. And he's like, man, we should just partner. Like, what are we doing? And then the last thing I'd say is we have a lot of similarities, life experiences, the way we see family, the way we see our kids, and how we just see the world. So that connectivity just made sense. And like that's truly like my brother.
Hmm.
We like we're like this now. So it just makes sense because people are like, well, Raw Reggie. Yeah, I know a lot of athletes. Like
Yeah.
I'm really good friends with a lot of guys. But because the passion and the connectivity for emerging leagues and us having that friendship since college just made sense.
That's incredible, man. You talked about some of the deals that you guys have done or you've done personally. Obviously, with launching a fund, you get a ton of inbound interest now. When you're evaluating opportunities, what are some of the metrics or things that you're looking for when you're evaluating these deals? Maybe like the top two or three things.
Yeah, I would say one of my KPIs, and I've done this for 15 years in a row. Everybody knows this about me. Like, I remember Torrey Holt did a video on I think it was NFL channel, and he talked about catching 200 straight balls. And every time I talk to him, I bring that up, and whether we're messaging each other. And I remember seeing that my junior year, and I was like, all right, if Torrey Holt's doing it, I got to do it. And I'm in college. I'm 19, 20 years old. I'm gonna catch 200 balls off the jugs no matter what every day. And I'm the same way in business. People
Hmm.
can't wrap their mind around like, how do you invest in 100 companies? How do you do this, do that? Because I'm just very robotic when it comes to pursuing a goal. So I look at 100 deals a week. I've done that for 15 years, whether it's real estate, M&A, franchising, sports. And so I've just studied it heavily. So when I think about sports, one being that when people hear emerging leagues and teams, they think about like pillow fighting. Like we've seen these people on ESPN swinging pillows. Like it's not cornhole pillow fighting. Like I'm looking at leagues that are right at that tipping point. Malcolm Gladwell, right? They're like right there. So NWSL, I was on MLS 5 years ago before people really started talking about it, and NWSL, and then obviously now love volleyball. Women's volleyball is fastest growing sport ages 18 and under. So it's like those random indicators that I use, and it's not really just like an exact science. It's just kind of like a feel. It's
Yeah.
reps. And so you know how it is in ball, bro. Like you've been practicing this fadeaway shot, and it's just a touch and a feel. But when you get in the game, it may look a little different, but you still get the same result. Now, do I have an underwriting team? Yes. I'm hiring some of the most amazing PE professionals in the game. Like if you start thinking about some of my teammates from Goldman Sachs and from Parkland Capital, from Harvard, like I'm bringing some of the best PE professionals that were also athletes to Synergy Sports. But yeah, that's kind of the thought process. Does it fit that ecosystem of what we want to execute?
Hmm. You talked about women's volleyball, and there are a lot of subsectors, if you will, in sports that have a lot of tailwinds. Like women's volleyball being definitely one of them, but also you talk about youth sports and even the recent announcement with the NFL and flag football. So, where are some of those undervalued sectors that you all are most interested in when it comes to the long term upside and potential in this asset class?
Soccer being one, volleyball, racing. I'm real big on racing. I've been talking about racing for 5 years, and then F1 puts out a movie, and now everybody's talking about it. But I've been a racing fan just because I'm a Corvette. I love Corvettes. I love collecting them. GT Motorsports, IMSA, F1, IndyCar. I think there's opportunity in all three of those still, even with the increase of what McLaren's done and Aston Martin and all that. I still think there's upside there. Um, so yeah, racing, volleyball, soccer, flag football is a no-brainer. I'm actually meeting with um, people today on that specific. I'm actually meeting with the NFL soon on that. But yeah, and then I think too, I'm also watching other startup leagues that have a niche. So, like I said, not something like a pillow fighting or cornhole, but there's new leagues like Unrivaled is an example. Um, so it's like it's basketball, but there's a new perspective on how they're presenting the game. And then college sports, right? Ocho Capital is good friends of ours. Obviously, Artos, I know people there. I know people at all these firms, Dynasty Equity, Don Cornwell's. He's become a friend after a couple phone calls. And so like they're like, T, we love what you're doing, man. You're like, we'll start sending you opportunities downstream. And I'm not exaggerating. In the last 3, 4 weeks, some of the big guys have already sent me deals downstream. Like, hey, check this deal out. It's not the right fit for us, but I think it's a great fit for you. We'll make the intro, you run with it.
Hmm.
So I told him, hey, you send stuff downstream to me, I'll send stuff upstream to you. And I think that just shows that cohesiveness of what we're doing because no one's down here. So like they're all even like, hey, you're not even in competition with us. We want to see you win because we want to, we'll send deals to you because if you can take care of them better than we can, go for it.
Yeah.
So that's been really cool.
Yeah. One of the things I'm passionate about is getting more athletes back into the space because I think they provide obviously strategic value, but also they understand sports like no other from, multiple different angles. So, what advice would you give to another athlete that's looking to tap back into this ecosystem from an investment perspective, like maybe something you wish you would have known when you were starting out?
I talked about this on the stage at Pro Athlete Community in front of 500 people, and that question came up to the T. And I said, first off, what I'm seeing in the space, first, I've been an investor for 21 years. And people hear that, they're like, damn, but I'm like, I'm still, 42 years old. So I just started early. Yeah, I started at 22. But I think in sports, one of the misnomers that I've been seeing is people get a deal, right? So there was like a deal that it got sent to my desk 12 different times from 12 different groups. And people get a deal and then they slap an SPV on it, slap fees on it, and they send it out like it's theirs. So I call it like almost like deal raiders. So I think be careful with that in sports. I'm seeing a lot of that. Make sure you're getting direct to cap table. It's not some SPV on top of an SPV on top of an SPV. Um, and then make sure it's something you're passionate about because these deals take time.
Yeah,
This isn't just a get rich quick, throw your money in, get it right out, you know. And then also, if there's a way for you to learn, like I'm in classes right now at Harvard, even though I would say I'm in the top 1% of 1% of athletes when it comes to my investment portfolio and what I've executed after the game. But even I still have a lot to learn and do and figure out. And so don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to study. Don't be afraid to go back and get more education. And then find people like us at Synergy Sports Capital. I'm working on something right now. I haven't announced yet that similar to what PAC is doing, and I'm partnering with PAC, but it's specifically around private equity, venture capital, and acquisitions and M&A, where I'm creating a space, an ecosystem in a room for athletes, CEOs, family offices to get in the same room and collaborate. Like that's something I'm working on and I'm planning on to announce soon. But yeah, get into an ecosystem where people genuinely want to see you win. They're not just seeing you as a commodity that they can leverage, get you to do an ad or two, and then move on to the next athlete.
for sure. That's great advice, man. As we wind down here, take us, 3 to 5 years down the line. Where is Synergy Sports?
Yeah, Synergy Sports Capital, I see us being a platform, not just a fund one, where we are the brand and the face of lower middle market sports. Anything in that lower middle market, you think Synergy Sports? And I could see us fund two, three, four, five, and just building a legacy, a platform that we've carved out our own niche. We're not just SPV in it in the ground. We're saying no, we're gonna step out, put the money up, put our necks out there, and let's go build a platform that when investors, family offices, and capital want to get these opportunities that can execute and create a platform to service, because that's the thing, right? Lower middle market, you got to service this. It's not passive. This is controlling active stakes. And I just got off the phone with a really cool league right now and a media company that you would know if I told you their names immediately. They don't need passive capital. They need people to help them solve some of these pain points. And coming from the startup world and being a venture capitalist myself for 21 years, like this is right where I want to grow and build.
I love it. Terrence, man, I appreciate your time. Obviously, I'm a huge supporter of everything that you're doing. Where can people learn more about you, but also everything that you guys are building at Synergy Sports.
Appreciate you, bro. First off, man, I'm proud of you. I want you to hear that. I told you that before. Um, I love what you're doing with your content. I love what you're doing with your community. I'm proud that you have stepped out to the forefront and say, hey, I'm gonna build something unique and that's differentiated to the market. And I want you to know I see you and I see what you're doing.
Thank you, brother.
Um, but yeah, how to find me, just synergysportscapital.com. Um, but also terrencemurphy.com, when people are looking like, okay, what does this portfolio look like? But yeah, man, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm trying to do better. I'm just, it's tough, man. Like I tell people all the time that I know personally, they're like, man, I sent you a message on IG. I sent you a message on LinkedIn. I'm like, dude, I'm getting 400 messages right now. So
Yeah,
like, if you need me, just call me on my cell phone. I'm still old school. But yeah, that's where you can find me, Synergy Sports Capital, or terrencemurphy.com.
my man. Appreciate you, Terrence.
Yes, sir. Thank you again.